10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
It's fast, right? So, hello everyone, I'm Jenny. Welcome to the HOBBIT'S livestream today. We stay here on Sunday nights every week to bring to you the topics that can be helpful for your learning and using English. Moreover, we hope we can receive many questions from you to clarify and discuss together. So be ready to leave your comments below. Come back with our topic this week, comparing and contrasting face-to-face study with online study. We have Denny, the IELTS teacher, and a special guest, Owen, who also English teacher in high school. And we have the Phoebe co-host with me today. So the first thing, how are you today, Phoebe?
Yeah, thank you for introducing me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Phoebe. I will be a co-host with Jenny today, and I hope you will enjoy our conversation. And yes, thank you. And your answer, yeah, I'm good today. So, how about you, Owen?
Oh, me? Oh, I'm very well, thank you. It's been a lovely day, and I'm actually quite looking forward to doing this. I haven't done this kind of thing before.
Yeah, I hope you have good experience with this. Yeah. So, how about you, Denny?
I'm as bright and chipper as ever, I promise.
Good to hear that. So, yeah, so I think we can start a conversation right now. So I have a very first question for two of you. And you say that you are a teacher. So, so first, Owen, how long you teach and how your experience of teaching English online and offline?
So I've been teaching for about 8.5 years, mostly like pre-COVID pandemic time, pretty much 100% face-to-face, a few online things here and there. And now I am teaching at a high school in Beijing, so we're sort of every week it changes. Some weeks, some classes are in class, and then other weeks all the classes are online. So it's quite interesting at the moment. I also study online, which I quite enjoy. But when it comes to teaching, if I was given a choice, I would always choose to teach face to face because I enjoy the interactions with people and the nuances and subtleties of human interaction that can maybe be lost slightly through a screen. What about you, Denny? What do you think? Do you agree with me, or are you very angry?
Angry? Boy, I'll try to smile more. So similar to Owen, I guess I'm a little bit older than him, but not much. Most of my experience, certainly before the coronavirus, was face-to-face teaching. I taught a little bit online before the coronavirus, but it was one-to-one on a website, Cambly, to teach English to one-on-one. This is not a recommendation. It is only a statement of fact. After the coronavirus problem began, I left my work in China as an IELTS examiner and have been working almost completely online since then for different schools and students all over the world, but almost always one-to-one tutoring, and sometimes really small classes, maybe 3 or 4, the most 8. What about you, Owen? You said you've been teaching online. About how many students are in your class?
So this is the issue. When I'm teaching, when I do like part-time work, it's often for 1 or 2 people, which is easy enough. But for the high school, my classes range in size from 16 to 24 students. Now, the way the classes in the school are actually very well organized. The stronger students who are more autonomous, they tend to be the bigger classes, which is fine when we're there in person. And the smaller classes are for the weaker students who need a little bit more attention, a bit more TLC. But for the online classes, this kind of goes out the window because you may have 20 people in the classroom online who are all doing the work, or none of them are doing the work. And I have no real way of knowing because it's very much an honor system. And this changes when you get to university or adult learning, because usually at university or mature learners, they want to be there, or at the very least, they are paying to be there. High school kids often don't think about the cost and they don't really want to be there. So as any intelligent individual would do, they find ways to cut corners and to hide. And they do this in real, like, bricks and mortar classrooms, but it's much easier in online classroom to duck out, change your name on the screen, turn your camera off, technical problems, whatever, and you can get out from interacting. So online classes can be really good, but you need buy-in from the students much more than you do when you're holding them prisoner in a high school classroom.
So
And that was go, please.
yes, but I know that you're talking about online class as a teacher. So it's just a little short question that you said about changing the name when they study online. Have you got a prank? I see a lot of trend in the internet that the student prank the teacher when they study online. Have you ever met that situation?
Oh yeah, I've definitely had my grade 9 class all change their name to my name and turn off their cameras and put a picture of me up on the screen. So yeah, it's me and teaching 20 versions of me, which sounds wonderful, but can be a little bit, we didn't get a lot done in that class. Again, it's hard to be annoyed or anything because it's, that takes work. They all have to work together to get that done. That's a team job. But yeah, you can be anyone online. So we were talking about this before the feed, the differences between extroverts and more introverted students, and how extroverted students seem to gain more from online classes. Someone who's willing to speak up, who doesn't really care if they make a mistake. They're going to drown everybody else out. And this is true in any classroom, but an online classroom makes it even harder for less extroverted students to be noticed by the teacher, even if they are as capable or even more capable than the extroverted students. Sorry, I've drifted onto a different point there, but
is it so? I haven't had big classes. Is it easy on a lot of the programs for students to ask the teacher a question, maybe without the other students hearing it? I mean, in the real classroom, it's usually easy. The student can raise their hand, the teacher can come to the student, and the student can ask a question. But in a lot of places I see, it's a general chat, so everybody sees everything written. Or, right, you raise your hand on Zoom, and then the video goes to you.
Yeah.
So everybody can see you.
This is one of the good features of the program we use. I'm not sure if it's a unique feature, but me as the teacher, I'm automatically set to talk to everyone. And all of the students in the class are automatically set to only talk to me. They can change it and they can talk to each other but they can ask me questions and no one else has to see them. And I can choose to answer them directly, or I can type back. This is a good thing. But again, I would say it's an extra barrier. It's an extra hurdle, because if you have a question in a physical class, you can just sort of get the teacher's attention and you can ask them. And since we're talking about ESL in an English learning environment, maybe your English isn't perfect, but you want to ask the question. And being in the same place, getting that shared understanding and context, even without good language skills, is easy enough to do, or easier at least. Whereas if you have a question that you need to type, you're having to worry about grammar, tenses, all these things, and it's going to take you a lot longer to ask it. So I feel students who may ask a question in a classroom might hold off asking a question online until they're absolutely sure they need to ask it. And even then, some don't, because they have to work that much harder to generate the question. Now, I don't want to be too negative on online teaching. It sounds like I'm really against it. I'm not. I see lots of little problems, and I haven't necessarily come up with solutions for all of them. But I'm sure there are solutions, and I'm hoping, by talking about it, more people can go, oh, actually, there's a really good feature for this, or there's something I do for this. Because as an extroverted teacher, I know how difficult it can be for more introverted students to talk to me, because I'm quite loud and bombastic, and I'm always trying to find ways to relax people in the classroom as well, to sort of offset my natural manic energy.
Yeah, so Owen, you talked about extrovert and introvert student. So is there any student come to you and talk about their difficulty when they study online?
Absolutely, and they tend to be the stronger students, the students who are better able to express themselves. So, for example, my 11th grade class, there's a real mix of abilities, but we've been reading Lord of the Flies, and a couple of the students have very good spoken English, even if they have some trouble with writing and stuff. If actually, one of the reasons they're in my class is not because of their English ability, it's because of their Korean ability. They are Koreans in a Korean school, but they've studied at international schools and they struggle with the Korean exams. So for an English test in a Korean school, being good in English isn't necessarily enough. And you end up with these very fluent people in lower grade classes because their English is great, but their English in a Korean exam is not good enough. And these students, they can come to me and they can talk to me in detail about problems and ask me how to address things. Sometimes they act as spokespeople for other students who haven't got the same language skills. So there's 2 or 3 of them, and the other students will talk to them and they'll pass on all the problems. So yeah, there are ways of overcoming these problems. We just added in an extra layer that we wouldn't need if we were having a physical class. We just we find another conduit between the Korean students and me can be the Korean students with very strong English. But yeah, people do come with problems, but I think it's a less frequent occurrence. Again, it's really easy in a classroom to put your hand up and show me a section of a book and say, what the hell does this mean? What's he doing? Whereas you guys were saying, when you're online, sometimes you think about the questions you're going to ask as a student, and you go to ask them and you realize your face is going to be filling up the whole screen and you're going, what the hell is this? And everyone else is going, we know what this is. Why is she asking this? And yeah, you can feel the eyes of everyone on you. even though they're not in the same room, they're not in the same building, they might not even be in the same country. It can feel more personal than if we are in the same classroom. It's easier to laugh it off when we're in the same place as well. Sorry, again, I rambled for a bit. I apologize, Phoebe.
It's okay. So I heard that you really against study online. So I can see that you have lots of problem with the study online, and so okay, let's talk about some advantage in your
Okay.
yeah. How in your what do you think that what the advantage of study online as a teacher?
As a teacher, the advantages are, and now it sounds very simple and very basic. It's in terms of structure and organization, it's very, very simple because I can have my lesson plan up, and often I will have a lesson plan in a class and I will disregard it almost straight away and start making changes. If I'm in a physical classroom, I can't make notes of those changes. I can't keep up with the change I'm making. When I'm working online, I can constantly just be adjusting things and adding notes while interacting with the students in a way that wouldn't be appropriate. It wouldn't be good for me to be teaching a physical class and tapping away on my laptop all the time. But when I'm tapping away on my laptop all the time anyway, this is fine as long as I keep my attention. So I can keep better notes. It's actually helped me develop as a teacher in order to be more patient with people. Because again, when I'm in the classroom, I can see if somebody's working. I can look over there, and Denny, I'm sure will agree with me here. After a while, you get a sixth sense. You can have two people sitting writing in their books, and you can go, okay, this person, he's working. This person, he's drawing a picture of that person who's working. You can see what's going on. Online, I have to trust the students a lot more, and I have to be ready for cameras to be off and for students to have long periods of silence. It doesn't mean they're not doing anything, and I'd have to come up with different ways of checking work. Again, this usually comes down to being more organized, saying, okay, at 2:05, I'm going to check your progress, and everyone can send me a screenshot, or they can send me a photo, or they can send me text of their work. And then I can be checking that while they continue to work. And this might even be good for the less extroverted people, because you guys are students, you know this. You're doing something, you're writing something down, you're not sure if it's perfect, but you've got the teacher looking over your shoulder, and they're going, don't worry, I'm just looking, it's all great. But it's still terrifying to have someone looming over the top of you and saying, oh, change this, change that. That's great. So I can send all of the changes anonymously without me physically being there, making them feel uncomfortable. So there are definitely plenty of benefits for teachers. And like I said, as a very disorganized teacher, I've learned to be a lot more organized while working online.
Yeah. Do you have any rules for your online class to make sure that our class don't happen?
I developed something I have a very high level 10th grade class, and they are very, very good. And whether we're online or in person, the one thing I can guarantee they will always be is mute. They like to write essays. They like to give me answers. And one thing I've done is I'll set a time. I'll ask a question in class, and I will set a number of responses I need to have. So we've got 20 people in the class. I need to get 10 responses for this question. And then with the high level class, I set a timer on my phone. I let them know how much time they have. If I don't get these 10 responses within the time, then everybody gets whatever question that was as an essay homework question. So suddenly I get a flurry of answers and going, okay, we got 20 seconds left and I've only got 7 answers. You guys are all getting homework. And they're like, no. So I end up giving a lot less homework because of I can threaten homework so much more easily. I don't want to give more homework because that means more work for me. They don't want to give more homework. So online, we've learned to work together. They might not want to shout out in class, but they can still respond. And this very quiet but talented group just need a much smaller push to interact online than they do in class. In class, I make them stand on desks and march up and down if they're too quiet when they're giving answers. So they all love being online because volume is not such an issue. So I'm not necessarily, this is not a good thing to do. I'm not saying you should make your students stand on desks and shout.
Yeah. So do you think your students love to study online?
Actually, I think because we've been doing this for about 7 or 8 weeks now, and I think if it's part of the time, no problem. And I think for the first couple of weeks, they were all enjoying not having to wake up so early, not having to go to school. And again, this is different for our adult learners, but school kids largely like going to school. They like spending time in a classroom physically with their friends. There is a greater range of movement even you can have. So being tied to a desk is not something anyone enjoys. But if you're 14 years old, you don't want to be sat at a desk all day. You want to be able, even if it's something as small as moving from classroom to classroom, you want to be able to turn up late to class because you've been playing basketball or something as well. So the social aspect has been frustrating for the students as time has gone on. So I think in any ideal scenario, there's definitely space for online, but there needs to be a balance between it. Even if we're all online, if I can use myself as an example here, in February, my wife and I were studying Slovenian, and we had classmates based in Peru, based in Hungary, based in Norway, all these places around the world. And that was fine, but it was really helpful that me and my wife live in the same place, because after class we could practice things, we could go over notes together, and that really helped us to develop. Whereas I think if I'd been completely isolated, there aren't that many Slovenian speakers in China. I'm sure I could find someone, but it's hard. So yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about it as online and offline, but I think a hybrid is ideal because you get a lot of flexibility with online. You can study at any time. You can record an entire lesson, so you can go back over it beat by beat. You can be anonymous if you want to be anonymous. You can be the full screen superstar if you want to be. But I think having all interactions at the end of the day should be as human as possible. I think that's the ideal. Sorry, again, rambling like a crazy old woman or man.
So, yeah. So I wonder that as a teacher, so the effective or the, I would say, productive or the quality of studying, because you teaching before the COVID and that offline 100%, and then you change to the COVID time and you have to study, you teach online. So do you see the difference or the change of the quality of studying of your students? Do they study better or they study worse? Or yeah, how about the change your students?
I think initially it was detrimental but I think like anything, people are very good at coping and changing and adjusting, and the technology is improving as well. So one of my issues as a teacher is not actually with teaching online. It's that people like me and Denny, who are experienced teachers now, I mean that seriously, I'm the air quotes, Denny's the real teacher, but experienced teachers, all of our qualifications, I think I got my final qualification in like 2017, and that was still almost 100% offline. So we're trained to do one type of teaching, and then we haven't really been trained to do this kind of teaching. This generation of students are the guinea pigs for us. So us as teachers, we're having to relearn how to teach. It's like we could drive a car. Now we can kind of drive a truck. We're not doing a great job, but eventually we'll get there. And while we're refining the process of how to do this and why technology is improving, students are also having to relearn how to study. So we're all getting better at studying online. But I think it's to the detriment of students it will be at least 5 or 6 years before we're back at a level where everybody really knows what they're doing. At the moment, everything is still new and loads of mistakes will be made, and so many being made that we can't even spot all of the mistakes we're making yet. So the next generation, no problem. I think university students have a better chance because they're more autonomous naturally, but like elementary and high school students, this generation is going to suffer through nobody's fault. It's just everybody's having to learn again. We're coming out of the dark ages, we've dropped back, and we need to move back to where we were before we can progress. And yeah, this group is going to miss out, but you're fine. Don't worry, Phoebe.
Thank you. And so, Denny, Jenny, do you guys have any question? Or Owen? Yeah.
Well, I know that, from what I understand, I should say, that you both studied with the Hobbit, teacher Messi, face to face. And then, is that correct, Phoebe?
I don't study directly with Mr. Messi. I come to Monday for a chill, but but most of the time of learning English time, I'm studying face to face with. I go to the class with my teacher.
So both of you can talk about your experiences learning face to face at the beginning of the coronavirus time in Vietnam. And now both of you have taken online classes with Hobbit English. So how do you feel about before and now? What has been some good parts about studying online compared to the classroom? And how is the classroom maybe better sometimes? And don't worry, I don't give you a mark or a grade for the current affairs class. So it's not like I'm going to go from giving you 100 to 0. Score doesn't matter in my class. So what about for the both of you? How have you felt about before and after?
Jenny?
Sorry, but I have the big problem. The same with online class on today is the problem from the internet, the Wi-Fi. So most of the conversation I cannot follow because I cannot hear clearly about that. And I have to see the stream on live stream on Facebook and read the stream on this. That means I cannot hear clearly about what you say. But in my opinion, I refer to the face-to-face classes more, but because of COVID-19, so we need to accept the online. And yeah, the big problem come to me when I study on face-to-face. I can make some questions. It's really stupid, but my friends or my teacher can explain for me. But and I think it's okay. But when I join the online class, I think I have to respond. I have to focus on more information. I need to find the information before I start, and I try to make a research or something. A lot of things to do, and one thing about the question when the teacher say, do you have any question? And my plan is go away. I don't know. And I really worry when I make the question. I think it's maybe it's simple, or maybe it's not word, or maybe the teacher, as mentioned before, or the teacher will be put information first and I didn't have time to research it. So I thinking a lot and I try to keep silent. So that's a big problem when I try to move to the online class. But the I think the best or the best benefit from online class is for when we try to learn the other language, especially English. It's easy to me to can have the chance to talk with a foreigner teacher. Yeah. And it's easy more than when I try to find face-to-face class in Vietnam. Yeah. So we need to accept. And I think maybe in the future we have the class, but online, but it's more tuned to have the like the way to talk face to face is more comfortable than now. Maybe the good internet or a good monitor, a computer, or maybe we have the techniques like we are talking about like 3D or upload something in the cloud or something like that. I think maybe we have the class is more real, like we can see the other people, like but it's just amazing. But I think it can be happen, and maybe we need to change. Yeah, that is my experience.
So I think Jenny made a really interesting point there about I think I got this. Apologize if I got this wrong, but about the pacing of the class. So this is difficult when you can't see everybody in the class, or you're not physically in the same place, because you can tell from people's body language and stuff. You can see if they've understood it, or if they're not sure, or if they finished an exercise, or if not. And I think from a teaching point of view, if you're not sure what's going on, most teachers will speed up. And if you're a student and you're not sure what's going on and things are going faster and faster, you start trying to take more notes. You're just trying to get the theory down. You don't necessarily have time to answer the questions. It might even be you're taking down notes and the teacher asks you to complete this question. You're like, I've only taken down half of the notes. And there's definitely something we can add here, like a little light system at the bottom of the screen. Like we set a task, and when someone's finished, they can press it and the light turns from red to green. And then when the teacher sees the sea of green, they can go, okay, now everybody feels comfortable and we can move on, or at least make more of a judgment call. Even in a small class with just 2 or 3 people, students move at a very different pace. So giving people more time to access that information is important. So again, for example, I will see something, I won't necessarily take it in, but I will try and answer straight away. Whereas my wife will see something, she'll read it again, she'll study it, she'll write it down, she'll make sure she's understood it, and then she'll answer. her answer might have taken 10 minutes longer than mine, but it will be right. Whereas mine, who knows? And different students need that time. And yeah, when you're saying the pacing of the class and the teachers moving on, this can definitely be an issue. What about you, Phoebe? Do you love online classes?
Yeah, I like, because like we talked about before, that it's flexible, and yeah, and I can save a lot of time of changing or moving from my place to where to study. And right now I'm in Vietnam and I'm learning English with Denny, who is really far from me, and I'm talking with you right now. So I think that Jenny had to mention about it before, that we can reach another material or another people, foreigner, to study, especially learning languages. But I think it's not for all of the languages or all of the kind of studying. Something like I used to study Chinese for a short time, and before the COVID, I studied offline, and because it's very letters. It's so we if we go to the offline class every day, we will go to the board and we write the letter, and the teacher will check it's right or wrong. Yeah, and and after that the COVID happened and we studied offline, and I stopped to study for a few days because it's not really work to me. But I changed from offline to online when I study Chinese. But it's good when I study English. So I think that it depends on what you study, and it will get with it depends on what you study.
Do you think that might be because of the script? Because I had the same thing when I was studying Chinese. I have to practice writing the characters again and again and again. And my teacher would be able. I would think the character looks perfect, and she would go, "No, this stroke should be going up, and you've done it down." I was like, "How can you even tell?" Because when you're learning English, you're more familiar with the alphabet that we use. You don't have to learn that part. But if you're learning Chinese or Japanese or even one of the more unique European languages like Hungarian, where there's different script, or Russian or something, do you think you need to be doing, if you were to learn Russian tomorrow, do you think online would be enough, or would you need to be there physically to learn?
Actually, I like to learn. For the beginning, I like to study face to face with the teacher. Yeah, because it's very new to me, and if with the connection with the teacher, with my classmate, and I told before, the script, different language, they have different script, and I think that if I write down when what the teacher write the board, and I write down the note, and if it's wrong, they just say they will walk by through the table.
Instant feedback. Yeah.
And I think it's important for the beginner, because need to write at the beginning. It's a foundation for you to study a language or anything. So and all I couldn't do that. Yeah, you can show that to your teacher, and if you don't show, they couldn't see that.
Yeah.
And we will do something wrong, we won't show anyone, especially not only your teacher see it, everyone in the room will see it. Yeah. So to me, I'm 50-50. It depends on.
Again, I think that's really interesting what you're saying about being a beginner in a language. It's almost like when you're starting a new language or any new subject, you need to feel as safe and comfortable as possible. And if you have your teacher there and your classmates there, and you're all together, it's easier to build that relationship. So online is not bad, and you can still do it from a beginning level. but I think I would agree with you that it's scary learning something completely new, and it's less scary. I say I'm going to track back a little bit. Making your way to an online class is easier. It's less scary than going to a physical class. But being in an online class is often scarier than being in the physical class, because you can't build those relationships. So I think with online classes, as you mentioned before, you tried something for a couple of days and then you were like, no, this isn't working. I'm gone. So it's much easier to start, but it's also much easier to quit, because you're not letting anyone down. These aren't real people in front of me. These are just faces and voices. Whereas if you're studying a new language and you're nervous and the person you're working with is nervous, and the next day you're thinking, I don't want to come back, you're also thinking, I don't want to leave them on their own as well. Like, you feel responsible. A community is more easily built physically. But again, I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, but I think it's really interesting that the higher the level, online becomes more and more positive the stronger you are in any subject. It doesn't have to be a language subject. It can be whatever you're studying.
Yeah. And I think that the community, like a connection between classmates, they can help you study better. And so because I think I study in a class, but after that I can talk with, if I don't understand something, I can ask my classmate right away. I think even though we only met in the class, but I feel more close than the people I study in the same class in online. Yeah, because I think it's a little bit not only to me, that you text to someone you study online together to add about something. It's harder for me than talk to the one who sit next to me. That's just adding.
Well, I do think I have a solution for this particular problem, because it was one that I accidentally found when I was a student. This really helped me. When we were studying, our teacher would put us into little breakout rooms, which is normal. Maybe just 2 students or 3 students in one place, and set us some work, and then at the end call us back. But the teacher gave us loads of time, so much time to do these things. So we're in these breakout rooms, we do the work, and then because we're away from the teacher and the other students, you end up chatting with people and making those little in-class relationships. So I think one way to solve this problem is to make sure you can have students working in a place away from the teacher, even online, in small groups where you don't have to worry about looking over your shoulder. And if you want to talk off topic for a few minutes, that's okay. And that helps build trust and things as well. And I know you're thinking, Owen, you're just a really lazy teacher who wants to send students away and just sit and do nothing. That's only partially true. Sorry, I know I keep talking and then ending very abruptly, and it's putting a lot of pressure on you, Phoebe. So I'm sorry about that.
I have a question that I think of. It's a little bit far, but like you said before, that we just met, the COVID happened suddenly, and we had to adjust to with that. But now we know that the problem, and we tried the online class for almost everywhere for a short time. And I believe that with the development of technique, they will develop more tools to support the online class. And as Jenny said before, maybe someday we will have a VR equipment that you will stick at home, but like you stick in the classroom and you react. And I don't know, but I mean the development technical. Did you think that one day if it could happen that offline? Yeah.
So I can look at Owen's befuddlement to this question.
No, I just wanted to see where it's going. I'm happy with where this is going. Don't worry. Unless you want to jump in.
Okay, I want to make it short. Yeah. Denny, please.
I should make it short. Okay. All right.
No, I thought I spent too much. That made you confused.
No, it was clear.
I was just enraptured.
As much as I am a Luddite, and as much as I'm going to have my own farm and live away from society and technology in just a few years, I pay very close attention to technology and what is coming. First, I just want to say Jenny actually made a very good point, unintentionally, but a very good point. If you don't have proper equipment, or maybe your equipment is good, but your internet connection is bad because it is the internet company, or there's another problem, well, there goes your online class. So if you are going to take online classes, you must make sure you can use the equipment well, that you can use the programs well, that if there are problems, you have ideas about how to fix them, because maybe nobody else can. I've been lucky in our class. Both you, Phoebe, and Hal have been managing it on the technical side, or helping if there are technical problems. And that's been great in our class. But students also need to be prepared, and teachers too, right? I should be better. I should be better at fixing the problems. For the technology side, because of one of my jobs, I talk to many professionals in Japan, especially a lot of doctors who teach at medical universities. And so in terms of VR, Facebook, Meta, and what you were talking about, wearing goggles, interacting, it's already starting to be done at some medical universities. You only have so many dead bodies, okay? You only have so many dead bodies so that students can see you cut into it. Medical students. Mm-hmm. How do future doctors learn? They need a dead body to practice on. We are not there yet, but some of the very basic things they can do. And being able to use your goggles and manipulate to move the heart, the brain, different parts of the body. They're already doing this. Okay, they are already doing this. I mean, even going back to like 2003 or 2004, you could have an avatar. You could have a very simple 3D block, and you could type things and it would be you. And you could move around and interact on the internet that way. This is coming, I think.
Actually,
in our
Denny, sorry to interrupt here. I found that really interesting, because you're right. Avatars are something for the future, but they're also something in the past. Why are we not using avatars right now, even if they're rubbish little avatars?
Because they're not realistic enough. Now, I have not actually done it, but from what I know, do you know the game Red Dawn Redemption?
I do, yes.
So
and
this
is get the whole.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you go. You're far more expert on this than I am.
Well, on the technology side, not the game side. I've never played the game, but right now there are games that you can play with the goggles on, and it's fairly realistic. I have seen some of the video of it on YouTube, but you can really move around and interact with your environment. And the more real it feels, the better it is for you to get engaged, to be serious about your studies. Now, to be able to do this requires good equipment. And this is the biggest challenge. Now, there are ways, for example, if your computer is not good enough to play a computer game, what you can do instead is pay a company a service, and you will play the game on the cloud, and then you will have it on your screen, on your monitor at home. Okay. I don't know if they can do that with the virtual reality and 3D technology. The problem will be connection speed. 5G and 6G.
Is this going to be an issue of widening the gap between rich and poor? Like, is this going to be another advantage that wealthy students have over rank and file?
Don't worry, the anarcho-capitalists are going to eventually take over. Don't worry. But there's a narrowing. Okay, there isn't a widening, there's a narrowing for the most part. But logistically, all right, in terms of real planning, most places in the world don't even have 5G. The amount of data, the amount of sheer information you need to send quickly for VR to really seem completely real requires probably 6G. That amount of information being transmitted quickly. And that's going to take a long time. You know, that's going to take 15 or 20 years. But education will progress that way. All right. It is going in that direction. How quickly? Places like Japan, South Korea, Singapore, they could probably have it by 2030 if the world doesn't go crazy. Places less developed, it could be a long time, maybe never, at a really honest, practical level. But for a lot of places, this is coming. And already at medical universities in Japan, they are using some of this. I've been talking a bit. There's just one other thing I wanted to comment on was the class that Phoebe and Jenny are in right now. We have 7 Vietnamese students and we have 1 Arab Israeli. Because we have an online class, we can take advantage of having students from around the world. This can be a very useful tool. Generally speaking, if it's a normal English class, you have students who probably use different sets of vocabulary. It's English. Certainly it is English, but different countries explain things in different ways, or different people explain things in different ways. For example,
exposure to different
things, different life circumstances.
Different, because you get this a lot, even in East Asia. The people from Malaysia and Singapore will speak very different English to those from Hong Kong, in the choice of words. So yeah, you're right. So there's a greater exposure to language. So there's a greater opportunity to learn and move outside of comfort zones. I've definitely had students when I was at university. We had a lot of Germans come to study with us, and they were all very disappointed that half of their class was German. They'd come all the way to England, and they're like, "These are the same people I've been studying with all this time."
Exactly. I was very lucky early in my career. I had a higher level English class in New York City. All right. I had C1 students basically from Poland, from Russia, from Korea, from Japan. And so this chance to have a class with people from so many different experiences and ideas is very useful. hear new ideas, hear new vocabulary, maybe hear ideas that directly go against what you understand. These are all good things. But also, this is the future of business and work. Airlines around the world don't have enough pilots. There's a huge drop in the number of available pilots. Jet fuel prices are up. Changes because of the coronavirus. Sometimes this country is open, sometimes it's closed. More and more business will be just like this. It will be video with other people whose first language isn't English. And you will have technical problems like Jenny sometimes has. Maybe you can't hear all the words. This is our new reality for a lot of us who are office workers or own our own businesses, but we have clients or customers in other countries. And so this is something we can practice in the classroom, so that's good. But it's also a challenge. Mm-hmm. Phoebe, Jenny, now I use something called Discord to present the information to the students. It has links to articles. Students can do chats in their own groups. They can make their own groups to do this if they want to. They can send just messages to me anytime or to each other. Do you think that Discord can be useful?
I think yes, if we know how to use it. Yeah, it's like any tool. Like, for example, the phone. Some people, they have really advanced phone, very smart phone, but they don't use that much because they don't know it's really could do that. So with Discord, it's very new to me, and I think that most of us. So I think that's good, but it takes time to learn how it works and how to use it. That one time we can take advantage of it. Yeah.
Do you know if anybody in our class has reviewed the videos? Owen, our class meets twice a week, Thursdays and Saturday evenings, and we always record it. And we post it online, it's on in the cloud, but all the students can access it if they missed the class or if they went to review it. Phoebe, Jenny, do you know if anybody has done it yet? We are in week 8? Yeah.
I don't know how to check it. No, I mean, I don't know how to check that people have seen it or not.
Oh, okay.
I just checked the video. I just said that do I know that other people have seen it already? And my answer is no, I don't know. They haven't seen it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think thank you, Denny, for your sharing. And I think that's very interesting conversation today. And I hope we have more time, or maybe the next time we talk more about rather interesting topic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I have a couple of questions for Owen.
Okay.
Okay, shoot.
Are you okay?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can do a few more minutes. That's okay.
Okay. For looking at it from the student point of view, what are some topics that might be harder to learn online? Like, just in my experience, trying to teach pronunciation, especially not face-to-face, like the tongue, the teeth, this, that. Even with a good video, it's still a flat screen.
Yeah, and because you often have to move into profile. Pronunciation is definitely one. But also just general conversations are slightly more stilted online. Like, this has happened to us, all of us, at some point, at multiple times tonight, where turn taking is more difficult. because there might be a momentary delay, or I can't quite read when you're about to finish and I should start. And there's an overlap. And again, with someone who has weaker language skills, this is another barrier to joining in the conversation. This is another reason to hold back and go, okay, I'm not 100% sure that this is my time to come in. And it can be scary if you finally work up the courage to talk and somebody else talks at the same time because they don't realize that you want to go. So I think not just pronunciation, but all spoken language is a little bit harder online. Like you were saying, writing, grammar, these are all things that are very visual and static. When you're writing, it stays in place. When you're learning grammar, it stays in place. But a conversation is fluid, and it's a team effort that relies on, frankly, expert timing from everybody. We all have friends who are slightly off the pace in a conversation, and it's difficult to bring them up to speed. And that just becomes all of us when we're communicating online, because I have to finish and then nod, I'm finished, and pass it on, or physically say, like, it's time for Denny to speak, it's time for Phoebe to speak. No one says that in a real conversation. No one says, okay, I'm done. Phoebe, thank you. It's bizarre in one sense, but it's necessary in this world that we inhabit. I've finished.
Jenny, is there anything else you wanted to add or mention also? Jenny?
I really upset about my Wi-Fi today. I think I missed maybe 60% of the conversations, but yeah, but like, lucky for me, because I can see again the video on the live stream on the Facebook group. Yeah, and I think something is really interesting about the feeling of the teacher when it's teaching the online class, because I never thought about the feeling like when you ask something and no one answer. I haven't talked about this before. So maybe as a student, I will try to talk more or make some more questions. Yeah. This maybe can be make the online class more easy for us.
Mm-hmm.
So Denny, do you have any question more? Okay. Yeah, it's very interesting, and thank you, Owen, for your sharing, and Denny also. And I hope the next time your Wi-Fi will be better, Jenny, and you will talk more to us next time. And I think that's quite enough for today. So, Owen, do you want to say something before we finish?
No, just thank you very much for having me. It's been quite a lot of fun talking about like professional stuff. It's not something I get to do very often. So thank you very much for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so
thanks for coming.
Okay, I think we finished the live stream today, and we learned a lot about the online and offline, and we know about what the teacher, thought about teaching and their difficulty. And as a student, I will try my best to be a good student in online class. Jenny, and thank you again, and good night.
And please remember to like, comment, and share this video on all major platforms, social platforms that you use in Vietnam and around the world.